What can I say? What can I say? Phoenix Suns basketball is back. And boy, what a roller coaster of emotions the opening game against the Dallas Mavericks was. This team was down by 22 points in the first half. Looked lost. Couldn't get anything together. Slowly but surely, they put it together. For atonement, as Mark Jones said. They had one more quarter for atonement. And as I bring in Matthew, my co-host, who's wearing the same hat, we coordinated this. Wear your Valley hat, man.
You wore yours yesterday, so I was like, maybe I can wear mine tonight. But oh well, we never noticed till we get on. So
yeah. What a game, man!
Oh, amazing. It's like you said, 22 points. It's kind of like the Mavericks were the running back getting that first down every third down. You just couldn't stop. It seemed like it was gonna be that way, but you know what, dude? Mentally, this was huge for the Suns. Win or lose, I guess you can say it's only first game, but dude, getting this win, it's big mentally, I think, for the Suns going forward and for their momentum heading into the season. I think this is a big win for the Suns.
It's huge because it literally was a tale of two halves and a team that was distraught, defeated, and just outplayed in the first half that reminded us of the last time we saw this team playing a game against these Dallas Mavericks. And the second half turnaround was just absolutely incredible. There's a lot of different storylines to discuss. There's a lot of, how's Cameron Johnson? He got injured. That opened the door for Damion Lee, who ended up being, the guy in this game. And
yeah,
I mean, that's so much to talk about. And so, first and foremost, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. For some of you, it might have been a while. You might not have watched this podcast since the last time the Suns played the Dallas Mavericks back in May. You might have just go, you know what? I'll deal with those jamsters. I'll be a jamster again when the Suns play again. If this is your first time ever watching the Suns Jam Session podcast, welcome. My name's John. His name's Matthew. John and Matthew. That spells jam. So that's literally how we came up with the name. So we go live after every Phoenix Suns game. We talk about what we saw, good, bad, or indifferent. We're Suns fans, so you're always going to get a point of view of kind of a couple guys who see it from Suns fans' points of view. Which again, good that could be good, bad, or indifferent, but it's real. It's who we are. This is the team we love. Even on nights where they take you through emotional roller coasters, to where I was losing my mind. I'm like, fuck, game one. Oh, it's like the background just changes out of nowhere. Fantastic. So, Matthew, you want to tell anybody anything before we drop the whatever?
You know what? No, just welcome to a new year. This is going to be a great year. I can just tell by this game the way they ended. This is going to be a great year. At the beginning, it was going to be a sucky year. I thought we were going to have 2 watchers tonight, but thanks everybody for being here again for our third year. This is crazy, man. Seemed just like yesterday.
Yeah,
we were born,
third year of doing post-game podcasts. It's fourth or fifth year. Fourth year doing the pod?
Fourth year doing the pod, yeah.
Fourth year doing the pod.
Yep.
Yeah, so a lot to talk about. Matthew, you got to be cracking open a beer. It's the first game of the season, man.
You can't. I have one in my fridge, and I totally forgot to grab it, dude.
So what I need you to do is go grab that beer, because I'm not popping it without you. Go grab it. I'll talk. So this is a reminder, if this is your first time watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button down below. It helps with the analytics. It lets everybody know where you're hanging out to enjoy the post-game podcast, where you want to get together with your fellow jamsters and talk about the game, firing off live in the chat. We love to see that. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. If you're listening to this podcast, go to Apple and hit the 5-star and then write a review. We'll actually read it right here on the pod. And if you're on Spotify, you can give us 5 stars as well. So, Matthew, I think it's time for us to pop a beer. You got the Coors Banquet?
I got one left over, so about 2 months old.
There you go.
It'll do, though.
You're like, I haven't had this beer. I was going to pop this beer open in game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, and I never got a chance to. Well, we can pop it tonight, Suns fans. Pop them if you got them. Smoke them if you got them. Ah, yeah. And how about some music from our friends from Pearl Jam? 107-105, the Phoenix Suns defeat the Dallas Mavericks to open the season 1-0, which always brings me to my first question.
Matthew, I got to ask.
Matthew, I have so many questions I got to ask. Like, I don't even know where to start. So I guess I'll start with the simplest thing. What'd you think of those uniforms tonight?
Oh, you know what? Honestly, I didn't like them. I didn't like them with the court.
Really?
Yeah, I liked them when they had media day. They looked really, really good. They're fine, but then I just thought they were gonna have their own court with it. Nothing like a Utah Jazz old court, but something that actually matches the uniforms to go along with it. I didn't like them on that court, man. I have to admit, it just didn't really vibe with me that much.
Wow.
My bad.
It's
Sorry,
okay.
dude.
I mean, Long John Silver, one of our elite jamsters who's watching along live.
Nice.
Again, if you want to become an elite jamster, simply hit the join button. You get some exclusive content and a free pass to jamsterdam.com.
Yes,
he didn't like it either. You know, Thomas Danette, good to see you back in the chat. Loved him winning. Landon, uniforms for fire. I no longer like Matthew's takes.
It's not going to be the worst take. Trust me.
We're in mid-season form already.
Yeah.
I loved them. I think they looked fantastic. Good. I think like when they're even standing on the court, and even when you see them from behind, because they got the gradient on them, I thought they were just really nice looking. So I had to get a simple question out of the way. You know, where should we start? I think we should start with. I don't want to start at the beginning. We'll get to the beginning. There's a lot there, but we got to give props to the player of the game. Well, we'll do the jam star later, but somebody who definitely made an impact on tonight's game.
Today I met this cat. He said his name was Damion. He thinks that we're a lot alike and wants to be my friend.
Damion Lee, welcome to the Phoenix Suns. His first game playing with the team. He played a total of 19 minutes and 46 seconds. He was 4 of 8 from the field, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc. He had 11 points. He had 2 assists, but he had 2 massive threes and then a falling away on the right baseline jumper that ultimately was the game winner. When you woke up this morning, did you think that the first drop we'd be playing on the Suns Jam Session podcast would be Damion Lee's new drop?
No, I thought we would do what we always do, which is do the Ayton watch. But
Yes.
I'm glad we started with this guy. Lee is like he's insane. When he shot that 2-pointer falling away, did you think it was? I thought it was going to go in. I thought, as ugly as it looked, I'm like, this is going to go in. He's like kind of like that guy. He's like a better version, not the same size, but a better version of like what Kelly Oubre used to do. Always hit these big shots for the Suns.
Mm-hmm.
He's a crowd whore, which is amazing. Like usually you have your fan favorite. You have your fan favorite all the time. Like it's probably gonna be Jock, but the crowd whore, the guy that gets everyone going towards the end of the game when no one else is really hitting anything, and like they're double teaming Book. That's Lee. Lee's gonna be the guy to come through. And he looked just so comfortable in the moment, man. It is awesome to have that guy, kind of Clarkson-esque, a little bit coming off the bench, man, where he's gonna give you those points, and we need it from somebody. So that's one. That's one guy that's gonna help us in the future.
Well, and I think. You take a look at kind of the way that the game was developing and how we really had a hard time with our bench unit, right? The bench unit was just not playing well, especially in that first half. I mean, I think almost through 3 quarters, they were like, they had 4 turnovers to 1 assist, shooting horribly. And then Damion Lee's kind of the guy who had to come in. And it was a really interesting fourth quarter because we had primarily no CP3. And then we had no Cameron Johnson because it appeared that he got injured, or they said they said he had shocker.
Yeah, I know.
They said he had cramps, right? So you look at how the fourth quarter played out for the Phoenix Suns. Mikal Bridges plays the entire quarter. Cam Johnson only plays 2 minutes and 25 seconds. DA the entire quarter. Devin Booker plays 8 minutes and 30 seconds because he played the entire third, and Chris Paul only plays 5:19. That's the interesting thing. Payne played the final 6:27 of that fourth quarter. He had 5 points. He had 1 assist. And then you have Damion Lee, who played the entire fourth quarter. Damion Lee played the entire fourth quarter, and that's where he got all of his 11 points.
That's huge because when it was going towards the third quarter in halftime, it was just a big drag. And you're thinking about the bench, how awful they looked, right? I mean, Jock was okay. We'll talk about him a little bit, but he only played for a certain stint, and then you're like, who's going to help us in the third quarter? It was the whole starting unit that just came out and killed it. But then you're thinking, I'm like, dude, we're going to have to put some of these guys in that are off the bench, and it's not going to work out. Like that's what I was thinking in my mind. I'm like, they're not going to be able to kind of keep this where it's like a 3-point game, 4-point game to where we have a chance to come back in the fourth, and they didn't. But then also you had a guy like Lee that can come in. And I think that experience really from the Warriors helps them a little bit. I think it does. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, but like the championship experience helps him in these situations. He stood out. He's not the biggest guy, but he stood out to where his body language is like, I've been here before, man. Just give me the ball. You want to go back and forth, Book, with the ball? I can take it. And
Quick
I felt
release
comfortable with him.
right?
Yeah, I felt comfortable with him with the ball.
There's so much that happened in this game, and I don't really know what to truly take from it. So obviously we should start at kind of the beginning and navigate our emotions, because at the end of the day, it's one game. Although it's a huge game, we said coming into this, no matter what happens, the Phoenix Suns will, if we win, people will be like, well, yeah, you should have. If we lose, like, Dallas fans will never give us, let us hear the end of it, right? But that being said, I think that you can't take too much from this game because it was truly, truly a tale of two halves. Okay, so let's start with the first half. You take a look at just some of the statistics in the first half. Okay, Luka Doncic has 20 points on 6 of 10 shooting, 1 of 4 from 3, but he had 5 assists and 5 rebounds as well. The team collectively shoots 47% from beyond the arc and 50% from the field. I mean, it's just like Game 7 all over again. They're not missing, and I swear every time Reggie Bullock pulls up from 3, he hits one against the Suns. Conversely, the Phoenix Suns, they shoot 20% from beyond the arc. They shoot 40.9% from the field, and their bench unit has 7 points to the 17 points of the Dallas Mavericks. So as you watch that first half, what were your primary concerns? I'll tell you, mine was the bench, but I'll what are yours? And if it was the bench, tell me what was concerning about it.
There was something that Monty said. I don't know when it was, because they showed it going into the third quarter after halftime. They showed him on the bench talking to his players, and he's just like, you're not reading the game right. Something like that. Like, you're not playing the game the way this game is. You're not reading it right. And it made sense, because I feel like the Suns in the beginning, they had good looks. I think Booker was really getting good looks. I think the whole team had good looks. It wasn't going in. And it wasn't like they were playing terrible, but it looked like they were just trying too hard. It looked like they were trying to make this a game that it wasn't. Like, it's like, this isn't the finals. This isn't the Western Conference Finals. You know what I mean? Playing against the Mavericks. Like, it's only game 1. Like, go get into your game. And I just love that Monty said that, because it just explained the whole first half. I just think when the Mavericks went up by 20, I'm like, dude, it's going to be so hard to come back. Luka's just going to carry them, like I said in the beginning, like a running back, getting those third downs. And I'm just like, there's no way that they're going to get blown out again, right? That's what it felt like. And it felt like that. The tweets were going off. Everyone was upset. But then the way that they kind of slowed down a little bit, started playing defense, started making the right decisions in the second half, that changed everything. But the first half, I'm like, this is everything that was terrible about last year. Like, it was absolutely terrible.
It was worse than last year. It was like the playoffs last year, because the bench was non-existent. And that was the mental barrier, right? Like, when we were growing up and the Yankees would have a lead and Mariano Rivera came in, you knew the game was over, right? Because he was so excellent. And that's how that most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, Hall of Fame. I mean, the only unanimous guy to ever make it to the Hall of Fame. So he did well enough. And that's how conversely it acted tonight with the Suns. You felt the bench was so bad. And even as we were watching the third quarter, so again, looking at the score at halftime, it was 62-45. Okay. So, teams down 17 points. They're down by a total of 22 at some points during that first half. And you see the starters come out in that third quarter, and they played fantastic, right? I mean, Booker played the whole damn time. Ayton played 11 minutes. Chris Paul played 8 of them. 8 for Cam Johnson, 9 for Mikal Bridges. So they all pretty much play the entire third. Okay. And they outscore them 31-19, and they get them back into the game. But in your back of your head, it's like, okay, well, the bench unit's going to have to start coming in, and we're actually going to have to get some production from the bench unit in this game. And that's what we did with Damion Lee, essentially, because as I mentioned earlier, the way the fourth quarter went, I mean, you have you know what? It's time to do a drop. It's time to we've gone way too far without doing a drop, and we always got to start with Deandre.
Watch.
DeAndre Ayton, the impact that he had on this game was absolutely massive. Think about it. That first half, he ends up playing a total of how much? Like 4 minutes, it felt like. 7 minutes.
Yeah.
He had 4 points. He had 3 fouls. Okay, so in that first half, he was plus minus, he was a 0. For the game, he's a plus 15 because he went for 18 and 10. And in that second half, he played nearly every single minute for the Phoenix Suns. He played 23:05 of the 24 available minutes, 14 points, 8 rebounds, 6 of 8 from the field. DeAndre Ayton, I can't play the pay this man his money drop for him anymore because he's been paid. and tonight, he earned it.
He definitely did. This was something I was looking forward to see if there was something new with him offensively. The most consistent thing he had all night, what he was showing, was keeping the ball up high.
Yes.
And that just makes the biggest difference because everything is easier for him when it's up high. Like when he's down there and Booker might make a pass to him, keeps it up high, he grabs it, he's in the paint, and he just uses that little right hook. Like it's easy over Doncic, over anybody in there because it's easy. So if he keeps the ball up high, it's super easy for him. Then you have Devin Booker and him brewing something. Like I've never seen them play like this together. And maybe it was more Booker than Ayton. But like I'm just saying, because Booker was actually throwing him the ball, and Booker has such a hard time in the past giving him the ball in good places. Tonight, it looked great, man. I think there was a few moves I saw from him in the post that looked really good. But he was so quick to react on a lot of stuff defensively around the rim, man. He was a nightmare for whoever was down there. He just was. Shot deterrence. He never gave up on plays. There was a shot clock violation almost in the first quarter where he just kept on the play, man. He went back to the boards, grabbed it, laid it in. Like he just made sure that he was involved in every play. And that's the one thing that I'll say that we said last year a lot was give him the ball more, right? Oh, wait, we said that the last 2 years almost. Give him the ball more when he's playing this way because there's plenty of times, especially with Cameron Payne, where Cameron Payne just can't pass it to him or something. And I'm just like, dude, like give him the ball, throw it up because he seems like he's figuring it out now. He seems like he has.
Well, I think that there's been a big onus this offseason to engage DA, to your point. I mean, he was 8 of 11 from the field, and he played 30 minutes. Right. So had he played 40 like the rest of the starters, he probably would have got 4 or 5 more shot attempts. And that's what we've always asked for. Between 15 to 20 shot attempts from DA, and you're going to get positive results because he's such a high efficiency player. I think I was looking at Phoenix Sun stats the other day as I was preparing something for brightsideofthesun.com. Check it out. Great place to read content. And DeAndre Ayton holds the single season record for field goal percentage in the Phoenix Suns history. I mean, the guy is he's a scoring machine if you give him the opportunity to do so. We've always kind of known that. And I think that the great thing to see was he was crashing that glass early, to your point. Crashing the glass. He had that one putback that was absolutely huge at the point of the game.
Yeah.
A slam dunk, 2 points is 2 points, but it's what you want to see, right? And then what I really appreciated about the way that he played in that second half was, one, the fact that he was out there. His conditioning is something that it's always kind of been an issue with DA, right? Like he gets winded.
Absolutely.
He gets winded. And then Monty sees that and he disengages him, and then the team kind of disengages from him, and we've seen that at times. But one thing that he did, like, I'm going to talk some shit about Cam Payne on this podcast, just so everybody knows. Like, Suns win, fantastic. Cam Payne going to get a little bit of lip from me. But there was one shot that Cam Payne made where he was wide open in the key, and it was a key jumper. And the reason he got so wide open is because DA set a strong screen. Wasn't one of those passive slip screens that he does. And to see him do that, and do that in the fourth quarter, that's big to me. Those are the little things that you look for from DeAndre Ayton and will continue to look for, and we've always looked for from DA, to where the casual fan who sits there and watches the game and goes, yeah, no, DA, you look at his stat line sometimes and you'll see 18 and 10, and you're like, he could have done so much more. Like he's not playing aggressive. He's getting winded and being taken out of the game in moments where he could be excelling. That didn't happen tonight. And to see that in game one, it makes me excited. Have we seen it from DA in the past in game one? We have. So, we'll continue to monitor this throughout the season. But tonight, unbelievably satisfied with the performance put forth by one DeAndre Ayton.
So he'll be suspended tomorrow. Is that what you're saying?
That's probably right. We're going to get the notification that Woj bomb. It's like, 25 more games for pissing a diuretic or whatever.
This is different, though, because he wasn't huffing and puffing like he was in the past. Like he talked about and stuff. Him and Doncic are just on the same kind of diet, I guess. It seemed like Doncic didn't really even lose weight. And maybe that neck beard makes him a little chubby. He needs to shave that up. That way he doesn't look so fucking fat. But him and DA had such a hard time eating whatever they wanted. That's what they did, I think, in the past. Now DA, he's woken up a little bit. I think he's really taking care of his body, and it shows, man, because the more energy he has, dude, it just see him out on the floor. I'm just like, all right, I feel comfortable with him out there, right? I think he's an option for us offensively and defensively. That's him. He's the guy that's a stopper down there.
And I think you hit on something that's absolutely paramount. And shout out to Mario Lopez watching along in the chat. Shout out to all the Jamsters who are watching along in the chat. Again, if you're on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button down below. We appreciate it. But he said, did you notice his role development? And I think I did notice that his roles were a little bit more strong, a little more instinctive. That's the key. He's at that point in his career where in the past you could always feel DA's thinking. And perhaps in the future, again, it's only one game. Perhaps in the future we will continue to feel him thinking. But he's been a lot more instinctive and reactive. And what made me happy, and something you talked on, is the fact that Devin Booker was getting him the ball in those tight spaces.
Big Dick Booker.
You got to give it up to Devin Booker for the way that he navigated this game without Chris Paul being out there for the majority of that fourth quarter. Devin Booker's final stat line, 40 minutes played in this one, 10 of 20 from the field. He only took 1 3 and he made it 7-7 from the free throw line, 28 total points, 9 assists from Devin Booker. And again, a lot of those assists were those little kind of in the paint passes to DA that he's had such a hard time doing his entire career playing with him. And that's the role development plus Devin Booker's ability to get him the ball is it's going to do nothing but take pressure off Devin Booker to score, coupled with DA's development.
Yeah, I sorry, I don't know you're going to stop there. So I was looking at the notes.
No, you're good. You're good.
So Book offensively, that was the one thing. It's like, who's going to kind of like take the next step this year for the Suns? And you know what? I think it's going to be Booker, but I didn't think in this way, right? I didn't think in this way where he was actually going to be this much of an influencer in just making sure that the offense is moving around without Chris Paul. I didn't know that was going to be a thing this early in the season. Like, you already see it, and maybe it's just DA paying more attention, but even when the double teams come over to him, he's passing the ball out to Lee towards the end of the game. Like, he doesn't hold it. He doesn't wait. Like, that was always an issue in the past. He's gotten better, but towards the end of the game, he knew how to handle himself. He's a guy that you can really trust. And the biggest thing for me, though, is like the way he gets his looks now. Ooh, fly in my face. The way he gets his looks now, man, is I don't know if they're really good looks in like just easy kind of, but I just think the hardest thing to realize is all the work he puts in, he makes it look so easy. Because like in the beginning of the game, he had a lot of good looks, but that's just him. That's just him kind of managing that space between him and the defender. And it's hard to even think about like, okay, like how do you even get to that? How do you even get that way in the NBA where you're just that good to where you can like play iso ball and get space no matter what? He's a guy now that can get his shot off, even though he's not like a 7-footer or a 6'10" guy. Like a lot of these guys that can shoot now, he can still get his space and get his shot off without getting blocked. And it looks like it's easy, but like seriously, he just has that now where it's just super simple for him, but it's all that work he's put in, man. His footing is great. And he went down today with the ankle thing. That freaked me the fuck out.
Me too, man.
I thought his ankle was like turned sideways or something. I'm like, dude,
I saw it and it was a quick tweak.
serious?
And sometimes those quick tweaks can be something that lasts for a long time and be a lingering injury. And he waved off. Damion Lee was ready to come back in the game at that point. And he's like, no. He's like, save it. We're going to need you. And if you really think about it, if you take a look at how this game ended, Dallas played it right. They let Devin Booker hold the ball as long as he could, doubled him, passed out. I mean, Damion Lee, let's face it, he hit you didn't see it as a miracle shot, but it was kind of a miracle shot that ultimately won this game, right? I mean, it is what it is, but I'll take it because after seeing some of the shots that Christian Wood was making, I'm like, you know what? We're owed one of these, okay? That guy is banking in fucking three-pointers. The guy can't hit a free throw, but he's banking in threes. Like, we're owed a kind of a miracle shot. So the way that they're doubling him was something that it was effective in the postseason last year as well. So if you were to guess, Matthew, without looking at the stat sheet, how many shots did Devin Booker take in the fourth quarter? Knowing that in the fourth quarter, the Phoenix Suns outscored the Dallas Mavericks 31-24.
The way you're setting it up, I'm going to say 4.
He took 3 shots.
3 shots. Okay.
Devin
I was
Booker
thinking 9, but the way you were
he was 2 of 3 from the field. He had 7 points because he had some free throws. He had 6 assists in the fourth quarter. He Chris Paul'd it tonight. The Phoenix Suns have a $24 million man sitting on the bench because he's 30 fucking 7 or 8 years old or however old he is. And Devin Booker, he led us to victory. It's like all the mentorship that Chris Paul's given him over the past couple seasons, he was actually able to put out there today, and it was effective for the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, it was great. Chris Paul, man, just looked miserable over there. I felt kind of bad, but I don't know what was going on. So we'll find out. No, we won't. We never find out anything. We never know what the fuck's going on with this team.
yeah. They like to keep it, close to the chest so we don't know what's going on. But speaking of the point guard.
The point guard.
He definitely wasn't a point guard tonight, I'll tell you that. I mean, he had a nice stretch there, but ultimately, Chris Paul, 1 of 6 from the field. He had 9 assists. He had 3 turnovers, 6 points. And as I mentioned, you take a look at the second half for the Phoenix Suns, and he ended up only playing 13 minutes, and it was all kind of that third quarter run for the team. So he was a part of that run that got the team back in. I'm wondering what to expect from Chris Paul this year, because in the first half, where the hell was he? Where the hell was he?
Well, he was definitely a dude that was just standing there, and he was kind of just, I think we saw this last year a little bit. Like there was these games where he would just kind of like be on the side and let everybody else do whatever the fuck they wanted. And that's fine. I think he's kind of getting used to the idea now that he's not going to play the biggest part in this offense. And it's going to be hard for him to realize that, but it's good. It's good that he sits out in the fourth, the last 3 minutes. It's good that he does that because we can win these games without him. And that's fine. That's fine. And what sucks is Chris Paul's career, almost 20 years. It's like, if he was going to win a championship, I'm sure he wants to be a big part of it. But you know what? If he's going to win, he might not be the biggest part that he wants to be. So he has to sit back and he has to actually watch his team grow and be there to help them. And I don't think he's going to be a baby about it. I think it's going to be something that he can help this team get to like the next level without him. So it's fine. It just in the first half, if he's going to be just on the side, kind of passing up the ball, it's fine. Cause I think we have other guys that can do stuff with the starting lineup.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see kind of how this season goes relative to Chris Paul. Cause again, I talked about it in a lot of our preseason stuff, how, 30 minutes is kind of where I expect him to live this year. And he got his 30 minutes, it's just a very weird way to go about getting it. But at the same time, to your point, like, Father Time is kind of caught up with him. And that's what we're all trying to figure out. Has it truly caught up with him? Is this like a Peyton Manning situation?
Oh, it better not be like a Tom Brady thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, Tom Brady's still to be written. I'm talking like Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl in his last year, but he couldn't throw a 15-yard out. And the defense, is what got them the championship in Denver there. Maybe that's the situation with Chris Paul where he's just going to kind of be there and he's going to show up in some spots. But you noticed it early in the game. McHale is bringing the ball up a bunch. Jay Crowder. Fuck. Wow. That's bad. Cam
Watch
Johnson.
your mouth, man.
Yeah. Don't say his name on this podcast. No, we love you, boss man, Jay. We wish you were out there. Shit.
Sure, yeah.
But Cam Johnson, he was bringing the ball up a lot in the first half. So there's a lot of just taking that stress off of him. And I felt like I was watching the playoffs last year because that's what the opposition in both the Pelicans and the Mavericks were doing the entire postseason, was forcing the ball out of Chris Paul's hands. And now they're willingly doing it. They're not pressuring full court in the fucking first game of the season. So it's going to be interesting moving forward to see essentially how Chris Paul is going to be integrated into this team, or if this is just a one-off thing. If they go, you know what, the Dallas Mavericks, the strength of their team is some of their wing defenders, right? Reggie Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith, things of that nature. So maybe this is one where it's like, we're going to ease Paul into this season. And right now the team's playing well. They're cooking. Damion Lee's doing well. Devin Booker shooting 2 of 3 from the field in the fourth, but he's setting his team up. DA's holding his own. He's stepping up and being the man that we've all wanted him to be. So maybe it's just like Monty's going to actually say, hey, I'm pulling the trigger on this one and you're staying on the bench. So it's going to be really interesting to see some of those post-game press conferences and see what Monty Williams and what Chris Paul has to say about the situation.
Yeah, we're not going down with the ship, Chris. All right? All right, if you're having a hard time, we got to do what's right for the team. It's a team game. Come on, remember that, please.
Real quick, shout out to Dumbass Bitch or Bish in the chat. They say, guys, the Mavs are saying Lee traveled on the last play. What should I say? just tell them to watch any play that Luka Doncic plays.
Or
and they'll
anybody
realize,
in the NBA.
Yeah,
Everyone
that
travels.
everything is traveling in the NBA nowadays. And that's
I didn't even notice that. I would have been like, wait, did he travel? I would have called my own player out.
I was talking a little bit about Monty, and
Mhm.
you know what? One thing we got to think of doing. I don't have a Monty Williams drop.
Yeah,
on
we
this
got
podcast.
you got to make one, man.
I got to make a Monty Williams podcast or a Monty Williams drop. But
Yeah.
he got teed up in the first half. Have you ever seen him that mad? I mean, obviously there was a missed goaltending where CP3, it looked like he was throwing up a lob to DA, but no matter what, the ball was headed down, and JaVale McGee blocked it. And then on the other side, there was a suspect calling DA. The ultimate was DA's third call, and it's what got him out of the game for a prolonged period of time. Have you ever seen Monty that mad?
You know what? Not that mad, but I feel like I'm going to see a lot of that this year, right? I just think that he has to get on this team. They have to grow, and I think to help them grow, he has to get on them. Kind of like with the way Chris Paul was on Cameron Johnson a lot today. You know, like these older guys that are on our team, like, well, Chris Paul's the only really old guy, but these veterans and also our coaching staff, they have to get on these guys to play better. If there's a mistake there, or a mistake, like it doesn't have to be a mistake, but even if he is upset about the officiating, he has to be more vocal. I expect to see that a lot this year, and it's good, man. I think it helps the team. I think that he's the one coach because he doesn't get upset. When he does, it means that much more. It's like never saying the C word or the F word, but then when you say it, it's like, oh,
it has an impact, right? You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's because he got LASIK surgery this offseason, so he actually can see the shitty officiating now in HD vision.
Before,
yeah. So I mean, he's not wearing the glasses anymore. Like he can actually see what's going on out there. He's like, oh my God, my team's getting cornholed out here. Like, I'm, and it's that, and he's got like the white beard now. You know, it's like he's got a different look about him. It's intimidating. Yeah. So I mean, it was ultimately unsuccessful. I mean, he just yelled at and got teed up, but it was interesting to see him just be that mad. So I thought I'd point that out. Next guy I want to talk about, kind of going down. Let's talk about some of the Mavs before we go back into the Phoenix Suns. Luka Doncic. Okay, this team, I mentioned it earlier. They had that hard start from three, but I mean, you got to give Luka his props, man. That guy, we saw it last year in the playoffs. Hell of an NBA player, tough to defend, and what he was doing so instinctively and so smartly, if you will, is that a word? Once DA was out of the game, and yeah, the Wordminator's right. Luka a hoe. This is also a fact. You can be a great player and also be a hoe. He's definitely a hoe. But one of the things with Luka Doncic is once DA went out of the game, and this is the impact of DA, folks. You heard Jason Kidd say it on the sideline, right? During the first half, once DA was out of the game, he's like, they don't have a shot blocker in there. Attack the rim. So what Luka was doing is he was setting up switches to get like Jock Landale on him or Bismack or any big he could, and then he was just attacking the rim or setting up his fellow teammates to attack the rim. And I thought that was very, very smart the way that he did that. You know, ultimately, you take a look at his box score in a loss, mind you. 10 of 23 from the field, 2 for 10 from beyond the arc. Thank you for that final three-pointer. By the way, once they started dribbling out, I'm like, he's going to take some dumb three. It just needs to not go in.
Oh, and that's fine. I like that, actually.
I'll absolutely take that. 35 points, 9 total rebounds, and 6 assists for Luka. You know, what were your thoughts watching him and how he was manipulating the defense? And is he going to be the MVP?
You know what? He has a chance now because no one's really talking about it, right? I think now, John's gone. I think he has a new ass plant. The thing is with Luka, he has to actually be the guy that's the main dude on the Dallas Mavericks, and he definitely is. But there's one thing that actually makes me upset when I watch him. Every time he actually goes to the hole, it's a foul or it's not a foul. The thing is, like, the refs are not going to call a foul every goddamn time he's down there getting to the rim, right? So he's going to complain all the time. Booker's that way now too, where he complains. But Luka is never going to get the call all the time. I'm just talking about how he gets to the rim and he expects the call every time. But they can call a foul every time, kind of like a Giannis thing, because he does get fouled. But they can't call the game that way, man. They can't make it to where it's a stop and go game. It's like you're going to get them sometimes, and sometimes you're not. It's like Cameron Johnson, great defense. One play, the next play, it's a foul. Same exact situation, but it's a foul this time. So that's the way the NBA is, and that's what he's going to live on. And they were talking about him in the beginning of the game, like, oh, he just he has fun when he plays. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
He's playing with his food again.
Yeah, but this guy does not have fun, and no one has fun when they play. If you're having fun, you're on a loser team. Like, you don't have fun. So I just thought, he's laughing in the beginning, but towards the end, his face gets bigger, and then
Oh,
he
yeah.
just gets a little bit more red.
Well, and he also looked very winded at the end of the game too. I think that it's the
Yeah.
first game, and it is Luka, fat Luka, or as fat as he'll be. And he wasn't that
He's
fat,
so cute.
okay,
Yeah.
he's
Cute little
pudgy.
Luka.
He's pudgy, little Luka. But
Yeah.
36 minutes played. So I mean, again, just respect for him. How long do you think that Christian Wood is on the bench for this team?
Oh, I don't know. Honestly, anytime there's anybody with a personality or actually wants to go out and score points on his own, play some ISO ball, I think they're going to be gone from the Mavericks. I don't think it's going to last long. It just doesn't make sense on that team. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like everyone just should be a catch and shooter there. Anybody that's like going off, just taking someone off the dribble, they're not going to be on that team long. I don't know why. I just doesn't seem like a fit for that Mavericks team.
Christian Wood had 25 off the bench. He was 4-7 from deep, man. I mean, honestly, like, we got all the way back to within like 3 points, and then he 13 straight points for the team.
Yeah.
I thought it was over at that point. I mean, it was just, I think it's interesting kind of how his acquisition is being used. JaVale McGee's the starter. I'll take that all day.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's an interesting build from that team,
Exactly, dude.
Here comes the Payne.
Oh, Cameron Payne. I don't know what to feel about you. Cameron Payne's stat line, 18 minutes played, 3 of 7 from the field, 1 of 3 from deep. He had 7 points. He had 2 turnovers, 3 personal fouls. Everyone had a fucking million fouls. But, Cam Payne, I can't be super upset. Like, he was an absolute zero in the first half. Absolute zero. You take a look at what he did, and he 0 for 3, a turnover, no assists. He wasn't doing anything. The first time he comes in the game, right? They literally bring him in, and it's like instantly a turnover. And then, like, in the second half, the first thing he does when he comes in, the Suns got this momentum that the starters have been playing out of their minds for 3 quarters. Cam Payne comes in, and it's like he fouls Christian Wood and puts him on the line. Now, granted, Christian Wood missed the 2 free throws, but it's just like, good old fucking Cam Payne, man. Just, he starts the year with a turnover. That's the story of Cameron Payne this year.
Yeah, and I don't think we really know what we want from him either, because I think in the offseason we were talking about him as a scorer, and then when you're watching him play, it's like, well, can you pass the ball a little bit? He doesn't pass the ball at all. He had a good pass towards the end of the game. I think I forget who was in the corner and hit a 3. Maybe they hit it. I don't even know. It was a nice pass, but that was like the first one I noticed. And I'm like, dude, this guy doesn't pass. But then I just think about myself, what I was saying before the season. We just need a scorer. So maybe that's just what he is, right? And he's going to be a frustrating player. He'll never be the guy that he was in the bubble or the season after that, right? So I just think he'll be someone you can't really count on. But then at times when he hits that shot, when he hits a 3, then it's like, oh, fuck yeah, Cam Payne's awesome. You know what I mean? But then the next play kind of fucks up a little bit. But I don't know, man. I just don't think we should expect too much from this guy this year. But wasn't he my letdown player or something?
He might have been. Yeah,
okay.
He was. No, he was mine. Yours was Landry Shamet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I picked Cameron Payne for the acid wash, or the acid genes. Again, I want so much from Cameron Payne, and I want him to be successful. We need him to be successful. And ultimately, he was successful in the fourth quarter because Devin Booker was out there. We didn't ask Cameron Payne to really do anything. And guess what? He got a little bit more engaged defensively, and he caused a couple turnovers from, and that's where we need him to be. But as a pure facilitator of the second team offense, we saw it in the first half, he couldn't do it. And again, that first half, maybe it was just a pure aberration, and it's something that we're going to see very rarely this season. And this Phoenix Suns team really is a team that, you could see the chemistry with the team when those starters were out there tonight. I mean, those starters are guys who've played through 3 seasons together and are battle tested and proven. It's the bench in which we have some problems and we have some opportunity. And Cameron Payne, he's kind of the longest tenured bench guy. So we need him to kind of step up. So I'll be interested to see, again, as this season progresses, if the narrative can somehow change on him, or if we just continue to kind of just have this 50-50 version of Cam Payne. And that's the most likely scenario, right? Like, we're going to have some good games. We're hoping that we have more good games than bad games. But if you're a backup point guard, you have 50-50 games because you're a backup point guard. If you're if you had more 50, if you had 75% good games, you'd be a starter in the NBA.
Yeah, you'd be asking out of this team right now
Yeah,
to be a starter. Yep.
exactly. So one guy that a lot of people were excited to see tonight, myself included, and he kind of got taken out of the picture simply because of the refereeing and the fouls, was the Aussie, Jock Landale.
Jesus, this is a nice limo.
Yes, it is. Now suck my...
Jock Landale. So, Jock Landale, 7 points played. It's still a funny drop. I'm sorry. For those of you who are coming back to the podcast for a first time, we made this one during the summer. We've been laughing our asses off ever since.
Yeah.
But Jock Landale, 7 points in 10 minutes played. What's the per 36 on that? And let's just talk about that for like the rest of the pod. Like, the per 36 on that's like what, like 48 points or something?
Yeah, he's a starting power forward. Yeah,
he's a starting power forward, but so you take a look, the entire 2 for 5 from the field. He got to the line, had the 4 personal fouls. He had a block, he looked engaged and aggressive. It was just so frustrating because we didn't get to see more of it. And you got to be excited as a Suns fan because in the small amount of time we had with him, we saw some really good production. He was one of the bright spots in that first half.
Yeah, he was amazing, man. I think he kind of lived up to it. And what he does is he makes the game easier for himself out there. He makes it easier for his teammates too. Like there's just a play where he's down there and he gets in the paint, good spacing, everything. And I think Booker just hits him and he has a ball up high, keeps it up high, goes right in the rim. Like it's like, oh, like this guy just makes the game simple. He uses his size. And if he gets blocked, he gets blocked. If he gets fouled, then that's awesome. I think he just uses his body and he's still very quick. He does jack up those threes. So I know we'll probably end up this season talking about, hey, slow down on the threes, even though I kind of just don't care. I think he can, as long as he provides those kind of numbers in that short amount of time, it's fine. I mean, if he gets one of those to go down, a couple of them, that's awesome. It's even a better night. So he's a guy that you can have him in, be excited about, and then you have Damion Lee come in, be excited about him. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of a nice start to the season. You have 2 guys.
We got exactly. We got a couple guys off that bench squad who are new faces who provided some quality production. Jock Landale kind of during the game, and then obviously Damion Lee in the fourth quarter. Shout out to the Aussie Suns fans pod. They're along in the chat. Great podcast to listen to. Some of our friends from down under, Gavin and the gang, says, "Aren't you sure this wasn't born on our pod?" You know what? You might be right. I was watching their podcast a few weeks ago and I was having a couple beers and I was doing what all the Jamsters are doing right now. I was just mouthing off in the chat being a jackass. And I just started coming up with a bunch of different Jock Landale nicknames. And then Suck My Jock came across and I was like, oh my God, that's from Team America. I'm making a drop about that. So I'll give credit where credit's due. It was 100% me. Yeah. I just happen to be doing it on your podcast. Let's see. What else we got to talk about in this game? We got just real quick.
The Saric smoke break.
We got 1 minute and 41 seconds of Dario Saric, and it was beautiful. He went up for a layup and barely jumped. I think he fouled the guy. It was so great to have Dario back, man.
Oh, dude, brought a tear to my eye. I'm like, this guy, man, I miss it, and that's the note I took. Oh, missed the free throw. I miss that. I don't know what else we expect, but I don't know. They show the pregame warmups of him kind of dribbling around. I'm like, there's no way that's an actual move. And then he just misses a layup tonight. So it's good to have him back on the court, man. It was a little
just
bit, right?
Slow motion. Dario was out there looking like he had puffed a pack of Marlboro Reds before the game, and he's just trying to get just runs right down, just downhill. The guy can't zag. He's one motion. It's like, you know what? We went a whole season without seeing that, and that was. It's just good to see him again. It's good to see him again. Matthew, there's one thing I did tonight, and I don't have a disguise. I went in wearing the hat. I went over to the Dallas Mavericks subreddit to see what they were saying. The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout. So this is one of those things that you only get here on the Jam Session podcast, where we like to go and just see what the opposition's fans are saying, right? There's no better place to do that than Reddit. So I was hanging out a little bit on the subreddit stakeout, and you got to believe that this team was losing their mind. The duality of this fan base was hysterical because they're making comments in the first half. It's like, hey, man, just came from the Suns subreddit. All they're doing is talking about fouls. what a bunch of bitches, and then like the entire second half is them complaining about fouls, So some of the observations that they made, I like to bring over here and talk with everybody on the podcast about kind of what they said. And, in the past, some of our jamsters have gone over there and they've observed it too, because it's funny. It's funny it's always good to see the other side of an equation, right? I always say there's 3 sides to every story, right? There's your side, my side, and the truth. Well, here was their side. Here's one thing, one of the first things in the first half. This team looks more dependent on Luka than ever. Didn't think that was possible, but here we are. Do you think that's true? Do you think the Dallas Mavericks are more dependable on Luka than ever? Because, again, it seems like they kind of anybody, Jalen Brunson's a good compliment to Luka, gone. What do you think?
I mean, that's insane, right? Yes, you have to be dependent on him. If you're going to win anything, you have to be dependent on him that much. I mean, Porzingis talked about, the other day they talked about how they just couldn't figure things out, and it's both their faults or whatever. But it's like, no, if anyone's gonna play with Luka, it's his ball all the time. So get used to it, man.
Yeah, and it's 100% like one of the highest usage rates, if not the highest usage rate in the history of the NBA. Like,
yeah,
it's hard to put pieces around him. And this offseason, what did they add? And we talked about this when we did our preseason. We were going through the different divisions and we were taking a look at kind of who are these teams now? What have they done? What have they changed? And when you looked at the Dallas Mavericks, ultimately the changes that they made, and I'm pulling up the graphic, they acquired JaVale McGee. They acquired Jaden Hardy from Sacramento, who's a pick that they had taken with a lottery pick. I don't know if it was a lottery pick. Christian Wood they got from Houston, but they lost Jalen Brunson. And then they gave up all of those assets to Houston in an effort to get Christian Wood. That's Marquise Chris, who gives a shit. Boban, I don't know how to say his, Marijuanovich. Sterling Brown, Trey Burke, Wendell Moore. So this is a team that they didn't do a lot in the offseason. They really didn't. They added 2 bigs, JaVale McGee and Christian Wood. And they lost Jalen Brunson, who was a good complementary guard next to them. So it was interesting how in the subreddit stakeout, right off the bat, that's what the opposition was, the Mavs fans were talking about. It's just this team. But then as the game went on and they started kicking the shit out of the Suns, somebody said, versus Phoenix Luka is my favorite version of Luka.
Because he just talks a lot of shit, maybe?
Oh, because he talks shit and he has fun doing it. That son of a bitch.
I guess in the beginning of the game he does.
Yeah, exactly. In the beginning of the games. One guy whose name on Reddit is Goat Luka. He says, "Is it a stretch to say that the Suns have one of the worst benches in the league? Like, they have no one." I literally want to go back into the subreddit, find that exact one, and just put Damion Lee. just huge troll status by me, but I never.
Yeah, because you have to now, man. You have to go on there and do that.
Okay, Goat Luka. I'm going to find that on Reddit. Everyone go to Reddit and go to Goat Luka. Okay, find Goat Luka on Reddit. This
is your homework.
And this is your homework. And you will see one of his posts that he posted to the Dallas Mavericks subreddit, and he says, it is a stretch to say the Suns have one of the worst benches in the league, like they have no one. And literally everyone just typed Damion Lee. That would be fan-fucking-tastic. That's your homework. I expect a lot from you. Somebody says Landale looks like Bill from Bill and Ted.
Yeah, kind of. Not really.
Kind of. It's the haircut. It's the curly haircut.
Yeah, but that guy's a really unique looking guy. Like, it's hard for to.
Yeah, but he also
look like that.
But he also looks like a Paul brother, Jock Paul. So somebody else said
does he? Okay.
He does.
Yeah.
Somebody else says Phoenix has no depth. CP3 is 50. Ayton hates it there. And Cam Johnson is worse than Crowder, but they starting him. LOL.
That's what ESPN was saying. ESPN was saying Stephen A. Smith, I think, snuck in there before commercials. Like, Ayton doesn't look like he wants to even be there or whatever.
Yeah,
he looks upset.
What do you mean? He's foul.
He's in foul trouble. Of course he's pissed off, dude. He's fine.
And he played fine in the second half, so fuck off, Stephen A. Smith. And then Sideshow Cameron, that was one. So for the haircut that you gave the Jesse Katsopoulos Best Hair Award, somebody called him Sideshow Cameron. I think that was a good one. Somebody said, yeah, JaVale ain't going to be starting for long.
Saw that coming.
And then literally from then on, when the Suns were winning, it was never like, they didn't talk any shit about the team. They were just pissed at their own team. They were pissed that Jason Kidd didn't have Wood out there. They were pissed that Luka Doncic and the team wasn't attacking the interior. and I'm gonna end where I kind of began. The reason they weren't attacking the interior was simply because DeAndre Ayton, he's that guy. He defensively, like, he's tough to attack. And if you attack a couple times and you don't get the foul call, guess what? You're not going back in there. Why would you? I mean, he has that much of an impact, and he did tonight.
He's amazing. He's awesome.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the subreddit stake. The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout. All right, Jamsters. It's that time of the pod.
Jam Star of the Game.
All right, Jamsters. As a reminder, if you're watching along live with us on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button down below and subscribe. And hit the little bell notification as well. That will let you know every time we go live, which is after every single Phoenix Suns game. If you are listening to the podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're consuming this podcast. And again, if you're on YouTube and you want to donate in the super chat, we've been trying to get Matthew a Cam Johnson jersey for like years now. And we're just not there. We need to do that. And again, I mentioned it last night on the podcast. The O on my keyboard is broken. So the more you donate the super chat, the more thank you, Black Sunday. It says, is CP3 washed or does he need to play more? That's a good question. What do you think, Matthew?
No, ease him into it. We need to see. So,
there you go.
It's kind of in the middle, right? He's not washed. I don't think he's washed at all. I think he just needs more time this year.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be baby steps with him.
Yeah.
All right, so again, Jamsters, if you're watching along live, let us know in the chat who your Jam Star of the Game is. Matthew, I'm going to let you start out because there's some good nominees here, some really good nominees.
There is, dude. I'm just gonna go. The highest praise today I gave to Ayton, so I'm gonna go DeAndre Ayton, and it's a tough one between him and Booker, but I'm just happy I saw improvement. There was things I saw from him tonight that I've never seen before. So that earns you the Jam Star, the first award to go into Jamsterdam.
There you go. There you
go. Everyone vote away so we can get that award up.
Yes. Taking a look at the chat, a lot of people firing off on some good Jamsters. You know, Big Dick Book from Coach Fallen Founder, one of our elite Jamsters, and somebody who we're going to get on the pod for some of these post games this season. Lee Ann Booker from David Ray. Jewel Ottinger gives it to Book. Juan Araneta gives it to Damion Lee. DA gets the star from Low Suns. Book from the Dark Phoenix #3. Ayton is easily the Jam Star from No Good. Cam from the Werbinator. Booker as well. A special mention to Lee. Damion Lee for sure. Lee. I think that I'm giving this one to Ayton, man. I really, Devin Booker was a big part of this, obviously. The way he played in that fourth quarter was absolutely like what this team needed. But DA being in the right spots, rolling hard, playing that defense, he really had a big impact in this game that allowed this team to get back into the game. The way he played defense, he kept them out. He kept them out of the interior. The moment he was gone, they attacked. It was a layup drill in the second quarter. The Dallas Mavericks ultimately in the second quarter outscored the Phoenix Suns 30 to 21 because they had free reign at the hoop because DA wasn't out there. The moment he kind of adjusted accordingly, he changed the game. So I think that's absolutely paramount to the success of the Phoenix Suns moving forward. And I think that this was a great start by having him do so tonight against the Dallas Mavericks. Anything else you want to talk about in this game? Anything I missed in your notes?
You know what? I think you did miss somebody. Let me know if this is true or not.
Lights, Cameron, action.
How did we miss Cam Johnson?
We did miss him. I just thought about that.
Well, this is why we need each other because I miss things. So talk about Cam Johnson tonight.
Oh, well, when I talked about earlier where the team was trying too hard, that's Cameron Johnson. He seemed like he was doing a little too much. He was doing the thing on the perimeter where he was trying to make those moves and try to get by somebody, and then he just shot a terrible three. It's like he was doing things that he needs to kind of ease into this year.
Slow down.
Then the third quarter, he came alive. He hit those big threes. He had that transition three he stepped into, nailed it. He was a big part of them coming closer in the third quarter to beating the Mavericks. Him, Mikal, and Ayton, they're going to be really fun together. The twins. Oh, I don't know if you just saw that. You remember that commercial? Well, let me try it again.
And twins. Oh my god,
it's kind of low.
That's funny.
But they play. They play great together, man. I'm excited for the future with all three of those guys. Oh, and Booker's good too. Those four guys.
We'll keep him around. Again, if you take a look at his statistics on the night, he was 6 of 13 from the field, 15 points. I mean, your starting power forward got you 15 points. That's a good night, in my opinion. And if he can consistently do that, that's fantastic. The question now becomes, can he consistently do that? He limped off the court because he was having some cramps. So we're hoping that's all it was. We're hoping it's just some cramping issues. Because if not, then that whole narrative begins. And the thing that we knew we'd be talking about, the contract extension, it adds some validity to the fact that James Jones didn't extend him. Because again, like if a guy's injury prone, why are you just throwing money at him? If you want to do that, you can become Denver and you can call yourselves the lovers of the MPJ, because you're like, hey, this guy, he's around sometimes, throw him a shit ton of money. So we're going to continue to monitor that. And, the Phoenix Suns, obviously, their next game is going to be, when is their next game? Is it Friday?
Yep, Friday and then Sunday.
Yep, so Friday they're playing the Portland Trailblazers. Shit. We're doing something with the family on Friday, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, a little bit of cake or whatever. I just assumed you weren't going to come.
I got to cover I got to cover the game for Brightside, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. You're going to go out. We're going to go hang out Saturday night, so.
Yeah, true.
We'll talk about it off the air.
There you go. Yeah, we'll talk about our weekend plans off the air. It just hit me. But they travel. It's a quick 2-game road trip for the Phoenix Suns. They go up to Portland. They come down on Sunday to play the Clippers. Taking a look at the Portland Trailblazers, what are your thoughts on this team as we get prepared to pack this excitement that we have from this Dallas Mavericks victory, put that away, and focus on game number 2 of the season?
Man, did they even win tonight? Did they even play?
Yeah,
they won.
Sacramento.
They beat Sacramento. They beat them. I don't even know.
What was the final score?
115 to 108.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think when we talked about it on the solar panel, I think I said that we're going to go 2-0. So I predict another win. I just don't know with this Portland team. It's like fucking, I'm sick of looking at them and talking about them. Is that weird? Like I'm sick of seeing like Lillard there and all that shit. Like nothing's ever going to happen there. So,
well, what I want to happen is I want Phoenix to go up there and put together a better game. That's what I like to see.
Okay.
I mean, again, like this is a win. It's a big win. It's a huge win. This is one that what's unfortunate if you think this way, which is how I think is this way, which I don't know what that means. It's clearly late in the pod. East Coast people probably turned off the TV. Oh, their Suns suck. They're getting smoked. They're going to wake up tomorrow and be like, they fucking came back and won.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are going to be surprised at that. And I think that, that's just kind of what happens on playing on the best coast, the West Coast. Portland it should be a W. Are you calling a W? I'm calling a W on this one.
I'm calling a W for sure, man.
I'm calling a W on this one. I mean, you can't not do it. What's funny, I'm going to end the pod with this, is we put out a tweet today from the Suns Jam Session Twitter account. So again, if you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter. If you are on Twitter, follow the pod at Suns Jam. We appreciate it. And we put out a poll about, different odds to bet on, right? And we're pretty much just saying, hey, we're taking a look at SaharaBets.com, and we're being like, okay, here's 3 different lines that we can bet on. Which one ultimately should we bet on, right? And so the lines that were out there was Devin Booker over. I'm trying to find it. Oh, I'm logged into the wrong account. That's right. That's my personal account. Awkward, killing time, talk about things.
So yeah,
things.
Yankees lost.
Did they?
Yeah, of course they lost. It's Verlander, man. Verlander always beats the Yankees.
Fair. Booker was over 25 or 24.5 points. He hit that. Paul was over 8.5 assists. He hit that. But the majority of the Jamsters bet said take Ayton over 10.5 rebounds. He had 10. So that was a losing bet there. I also bet on the over-under. I put a bunch of money on Ayton to score over 17.5 points today. He scored 18. It was great. So,
perfect.
There you go. So before we get out of here, again, shout out to everybody who's hanging out with us. It's great to be back. It's great to have the season back. You have it written right there, sunsjamsterdam.com. You want to tell everyone a little bit about sunsjamsterdam.com before we get out of here? You want to
so if you go to
the Jamsters in this new experience we have?
Yeah, it's a lot. Honestly, if you go to sunsjamsterdam.com, everything is there to explain. But if you want a welcome kit to move in, it's basically a world that we can build, we can create, your creativity. So basically on this pod, we use your creativity for everything. Like behind me at Suns Illustrated, like these these artists that are out there that create Sun stuff. I use it behind me, but I'm like, why don't we just create a whole city where everyone can contribute, from music to movies to art to everything. So if you go to sunsjamsterdam.com, you can move in. It seems really weird and kind of different maybe, but go ahead and check it out. If you're interested in what you see on there, go ahead and email sunsjamsterdam@gmail.com. And then I'll send you a welcome kit. And you can move in. You move in. We build a whole town this whole season. You do whatever you want there. But it's not a video game. I do everything. I create everything. So you have your say, though. So you guys build this town yourselves. I just create whatever the hell you want me to do.
I'll tell you this. It's literally like the Suns Jam Session is going into the metaverse. That's what's happening.
It's kind of like that.
It's kind of like that. So
eventually it will be, right?
On that note, Jamsters, we're going to see you Friday night after the Suns play the Portland Trailblazers. Again, Suns win tonight over the Mavericks, 107-105. They are 1-0 on the season. Fantastic. Cheers. I'm super happy. So
yeah, I'm super happy. And go home and love your family in Jamsterdam, baby.
Okay, there's a whole family I can have there. I gotta